We'll be doing our garbage people and our heroes of the week. So head over to the post tab on YouTube. You can vote on those. For now, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Ritchie. Good to be with you. We got a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day. None other than Mr. Elliot Morgan. Always fascinating to have his brilliance on the program. Top story of the day. Remember the Fulton County, Atlanta, Georgia prosecutor, Fani Willis, district attorney, who had the absolute gall and I would say responsibility to prosecute Donald Trump and his cronies for attempting to manipulate the election in Georgia. Remember, Trump had to take a mug shot in Atlanta, Georgia, had to be fingerprinted by Sheriff Patrick Labatt in the city of Dr. King. New development. Despite legal disputes, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is finally scheduled to appear on December 17th to testify before a special state Senate committee examining her prosecution of President Donald Trump. Already politically motivated, naturally. The entire committee was established due to the prosecution of Trump. They tried to say it was about some broader, far-reaching element of state restriction and out of control district attorneys, but they are utilizing it exactly how and what they designed it for. Lawyers for Willis and the state Senate committee appeared Tuesday before the Georgia Supreme Court to contest if a 2024 subpoena can still compel Ms. Willis to actually testify, even though that version of the Georgia General Assembly dissolved when a new one took office in January, basically arguing that it does not meet the spirit or the essence of the legislature that passed, because that legislature has thus been dissolved. Reminder, state senators, January 2024, created the committee to look into allegations of, quote, various forms of misconduct against Willis concerning her prosecution against Donald Trump and others over efforts to overturn Trump's 2020 election loss in Georgia. Even before Trump embarked on a retribution campaign against his enemies, Republicans on the Georgia committee were eager to bring Willis in for question. So the Senate committee issued a new subpoena. That came this year after lawmakers passed a new law explicitly laying out their subpoena powers. Willis agreed to appear under the new subpoena. Now I'm going to get into some of the details. They have already created 4 to 5 separate laws, separate, independent, but joint related laws, in order to do this to the district attorney, newly elected DA of Fulton County, Georgia. Because there was so much ambiguity in the law as far as subpoena powers vested in the Senate for the state, they went back and passed a new law to clarify and truly enhance their subpoena authority. There's more, put them up. But Senate Special Committee on Investigations Chairman Bill Couser. Bill is an Athens, Georgia Republican. Still wants the old subpoena recognized as valid, seeking a legal precedent about legislative powers. Quote, the attack is that the subpoena is void and there is simply zero constitutional text to support that argument. And there is no reason this court should adopt it, said Josh Belafonte, a lawyer for the committee. Georgia Supreme Court justices seem skeptical of that argument and reluctant to rule at all if Willis testifies on December 17th. Instead, multiple justices suggested the subpoena died with the old legislature, which has been the common practice, by the way. There's more. Quote, when the General Assembly convenes, it is a new General Assembly. It is not a continuous process, said Justice Charles Bethel, himself a former state senate. Now, I have a legal opinion about this myself also. And I think it's simpler than some of the legal scholars have made it out to be. The state of Georgia, they do not have full-time lawmakers. All of their lawmakers are considered part-time. It's not like California or perhaps New York. The lawmakers are part-time lawmakers, which means even if reelected or the next year follows, they have to be sworn in again, which technically means there's a period of time when they are not, in fact, properly affixed to the position because it is not continual. Now, that is legal fiction, meaning we don't know the exact time frame. But if you got to be sworn in again, that means that at some point, your term is not a continuous term. Very simple. In addition to that, because they have to be sworn in again, it means that their powers under the old authority are thus suspended temporarily because their position as lawmakers in the state of Georgia via the part-time status makes it so. Sometimes the simpler route is the better. All right. Former Governor Roy Barnes, Democrat, last statewide Democrat elected governor, happens to be a friend of mine, Governor Roy Barnes, representing Willis, also argued the old subpoena was defective because it was not issued by both the House and the Senate. That is a legal argument, doesn't have as much teeth because of the ambiguity of the law. The new law passed this year explicitly says one chamber may authorize subpoenas without the other chamber concurring. So although Willis has agreed to appear, Governor Barnes, who is a very well-respected attorney, Barnes suggested more wrangling may come. Quote, you can't just pick somebody out and say, we're going to embarrass you, we're going to try you, we're going to harass you, Barnes told justices. So we'll make an appropriate objection at the time. I'm not a potted plant. Some Southern jargon there. Here's the other benefit. 4 of the 5 Republicans on the committee are running for statewide office in 2026. So they're trying to get up out of there. They're trying to do something else with their lives. Going to be interesting to see how much vigor they have. And, you know, when Governor Barnes was governor, he appointed a lot of judges who are still on the bench today. So they have to weigh that. And if they want to fight this as it relates to Fani Willis. But once again, my dear brother, they have literally passed big laws, not small laws, but laws that would change the precedent of the House and the Senate in the state of Georgia in order to go after the one woman who stuck to her integrity and put Donald Trump inside of a jail temporarily, yes. But he had to make that ride like everybody else. He had to take that mugshot, and they took his fingerprint.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said the correct word, which is integrity. They are coming after integrity in a full-throated manner. I think this is what this administration does. There's this term that is used about Trump very rarely, but it is used often by Dr. Cornel West, and he refers to him very often as either a gangster or a thug. And that's what came to mind when I was reading this story, because I was like, my goodness, like, this guy really will go after his enemies in such a vicious and obvious way that it would be comical if there was actually anything funny to it. But as I was reading, I'm glad you went into the actual legal ramifications and the contours of this thing, because I don't know anything about that. However, I do hope they make this as difficult as possible to come after this woman. She doesn't deserve it. And I think the way you explained it was simple and makes total sense.
Yeah, we'll bring you updates as they come. I do think Roy Barnes, the former governor, has signaled that he has a surprise outside of October for them. All right. Big money. Paramount CEO wants to buy Warner Brothers to change CNN for favoring Donald Trump in the upcoming election. There's an issue. So put it a full mask. This is a hell of a story. After Warner Brothers accepted an offer to purchase it from Netflix, Paramount Skydance CEO David Ellison announced that Paramount would attempt to pull off a hostile takeover by presenting shareholders with his own bid. Ellison has reportedly told Trump administration officials that he would implement, quote, sweeping changes at CNN should he succeed in acquiring Warner Brothers. Discovery, the cable news network's parent company. The Wall Street Journal reported that, quote, during a visit to Washington in recent days, David Ellison offered assurances to Trump administration officials that if he bought Warner, he would make sweeping changes to CNN, a common target of President Donald Trump's ire. People familiar with the matter said, quote, Trump has told people close to him that he wants new ownership of CNN, as well as changes to CNN programming, end quote. Adding the journal story, Trump has long considered CNN enemy territory. In a rant on the White House lawn earlier this year, he derided the networks as, quote, scum. If this story is true, which obviously it is, that would mean the deal should not be sanctioned judicially due to the fact that the government is involved in silencing freedom of speech and freedom of press. That is a constitutional no-no. It is in the Constitution that the government shall not impede on this sacred freedom. But the government is getting involved. That alone could disqualify any type of deal being approved by any court, period, if it comes to that. So Paramount Skydance, $108 billion hostile takeover bid for Warner Brothers Discovery includes billions of dollars in funding from who? Middle East investors. And Jared Kushner, private equity firm. We wondered what he was going to do with all of that loan money. There's more. According to reports on Monday, quote, a filing confirms that Paramount's tender offer is also supported by a $24 billion in debt financing from sovereign wealth funds from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, as well as from Jared Kushner, Affinity Partners, the Hollywood Reporter reported. It's not finding what's illegal about this deal. It's the actual issue is finding what's legal about the deal. This is raising alarms, obviously, the analysts. Here it is.
In the United States, we have this thing called the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. It's made up mostly of Trump cabinet members, and they review deals to see if there are national security concerns. Ultimately, the president gets the final say on whether or not deals go through or not. With this Paramount bid, they've accepted $24 billion from sovereign wealth funds and additional funds from Jared Kushner's firm. Typically, CFIUS would be reviewing that very closely. But what they've done in this situation is they said that these sovereign wealth funds have decided to forego governance rights, board seats. Artie, that's very unusual. Why would you put $24 billion into a bid and forego any control? The obvious answer is soft power.
In the last year, Paramount merged with Skydance, giving the Ellison family control over CBS News. Kushner, with the help from Saudi Arabia, took video game giant Electronic Arts private in the largest leveraged buyout ever. And to top it all off, the Ellisons, who are major Trump supporters, agreed to play a key role in TikTok U.S. operations. That is an enormous amount of influence over media. And if their bid with Warner Brothers Discovery is successful, it is only going to get much, much bigger.
What is this fundamentally about? The manipulation of you, the controlling of the narrative, the deception to the masses, propaganda, marketing, binary market, framing the debate. It goes on and on. That is what it's about. Now, naturally, utilizing the White House in such a public way to steer the deal in their favor is, well, not common and definitely, based on the Constitution and law, not legal. So investigative journalists, we're going to get to that in a minute, is an interesting interplay. Kushner's inclusion in this, Paramount, Skydance offer, comes after Netflix boss, Ted Sarandos, recently met with his father-in-law, Donald Trump. That's according to the New York Post and according to Bloomberg. The Netflix boss was making his case for why Netflix acquiring WBD would not be an antitrust violation. Trump on Sunday praised the Netflix executive as a shrewd businessman, but also said that Netflix bid for WBD could be a problem. David Ellison's father, Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison, is also a big supporter of Donald Trump. So there's an investigative journalist, Dre Dossier, looked through the Ellison's corporate filings and concluded that CNN was always the real target in the hostile takeover anyway. Here's what she reported, quote, "But here's what I can't stop thinking about. While everyone's focused on what Netflix is buying, nobody's paying attention to what they're not buying and who's positioned to pick up those pieces. Because on December 4th, the day before Netflix big win got announced, one of my Google alerts went off. Larry Ellison's net worth had just surged $5.2 billion in a single day, jumping him from third richest person in the world to second. Quote, the Oracle rally traced back to December 1st. That's when a Dutch bank reiterated its buy rating on the stock, calling it, quote, an attractive entry point given recent weakness, end quote. Except Oracle had been sluggish for months. No earnings surprised that week. No major contracts. Nothing that will make a bank suddenly remind everyone Oracle's a buy. And yet, the bank picked December 1st, the exact day final bids were due in the Warner Brothers Discovery auction. Analyst upgrades typically takes 3 to 4 trading days to translate into wealth gains for major shareholders, which means a December 1st call would predictably land on Ellison's net worth by December 4th. There's more. Quote, one day before he was announced as the loser. That timing feels coordinated. It doesn't help the bid they've already submitted, sure, but it's really helpful if you're about to publicly lose and need to look like you're winning at something else. Even more helpful if you need that kind of financial backing for a purchase you actually want to make. Let's put up the Pinnacle pattern. Quote is, I've watched the Paramount Skydance merger closely in 2024, tracked every SPV they use, because if you want to understand how billionaires move, you don't watch what they say. You watch what they find. 3 entities stood out. Pinnacle Media Ventures 1, 2, and 3. All filed the same day, June 28th, 2024. 9 days later, the Paramount Skydance deal was announced. Pinnacle Media Ventures is the umbrella structure Larry Ellison creates with LLCs beneath them for David's direct investments, end quote. There's more. Quote, if the Ellisons were planning to acquire Warner Brothers, they'd probably use the same structure. And what do you know? There seems to have been a Pinnacle Media Ventures 4 filed December 1st, 2025. Same day final bids were due. Same day that same bank upgraded Oracle. Now that's interesting because those two things suggest opposite conclusions. Filing a new acquisition entity suggests confidence. You don't create that infrastructure unless you're expecting to use it. But if they already knew they were losing Warner Brothers, why file it at all? Unless Pinnacle Media Ventures 4 isn't for Warner Brothers, unless it's for something else. And here's what made me pause. There's only one of them. For Paramount, they needed 3. If they were buying all of Warner Brothers Discovery, wouldn't they need a similar structure? But if they were only planning to buy one piece, maybe one holding company, is all you need. Here's her conclusion.
Maybe your plan is to only buy one piece of Warner Brothers Discovery. Which brings me to what Netflix is not buying. Netflix is not buying the cable networks. The deal requires Warner Brothers Discovery to spin off CNN, TNT, TBS, and all of the Discovery networks into a separate company called Discovery Global. And it will become its own publicly traded company available for someone else to buy. Which, to be fair, that was always kind of the plan. So why not wait for that to happen in April of 2026 like it was supposed to? Why would the Ellisons want to force Warner Brothers Discovery into an early sale? Because remember, they were giving all of these unsolicited bids for the whole company starting back in September, only to be turned down again and again and again, and then to lose again finally in December. I think losing was the point. What if their only goal was to force this spinoff to happen before April of 2026 so that they could buy the one piece that they wanted, CNN, before the primaries?
Fascinating and brilliant journalism. Diabolical planning by these individuals is being alleged. Significant maneuvering in financial markets in order to make the main thing not the main thing. For one purpose, you. That alone should tell you that you are empowered. That alone should remind you who's really in control. You. Because if you weren't the factor, they would never go through all of this trouble in order to manipulate you. All right, dear brother, thoughts here.
I appreciate you spinning that way because that makes me feel a lot better. Because as I watch this all unfold, the only feeling I get is, man, there's a sense of powerlessness going on, especially as more and more power, more and more of our culture goes just funneling straight to the top with these billionaires. I think that no matter how you slice this story, it's like every individual slice reveals a new shade of corruption that's going on. And it's kind of comical. It reminds me of a lot of my family members who, when they talk about the Trump administration, they'll say, well, at least he's not in it for the money. And then these deals like this happen, or Jared Kushner gets a deal with Saudi Arabia, or all of a sudden he's meddling in these kinds of affairs so they can actually control the media and manipulate the population. It's so obvious what's going on. I think what kind of drives me a little crazy is just seeing how few people seem to care about what's going on. Like, it's right in front of us. And it should be sounding every alarm in our minds. And yet, I mean, hopefully people catch wind of this and recognize how big it is and how corrupt it is and diabolical, as you said.
That's right. And this is why they did not want you to be woke, because they wanted you to remain asleep when they did things like this to you. But I believe that people are being shaken out of their slumber. And that is the power
Amen.
Of awareness. Okay. Bring you updates as they come. I have a very sad story. A father was killed after confronting a manager at a Bojangles This was in reference to a bullying allegation and a 17-year-old. Put up the picture full mass. I'm taking you to the state of Georgia. Dominique Goodman was shot to death after trying to confront a Bojangles shift manager named Maurice Evans, who was allegedly taunting Goodman's 17-year-old daughter at work. Evans was charged for the murder. The shooting took place on Sunday, December 7th. This was a Bojangles in Palmetto, Georgia. This was a rural area. According to WAGA, Goodman's teenage daughter is an employee at that restaurant. Family members say she called her father Sunday afternoon and told him that Evans had been bullying her. Evans had been dismissed for the day, according to the family, and was in the parking lot when Goodman arrived at the restaurant. Mr. Goodman reportedly tried to confront Evans over his daughter's complaints, but the altercation escalated when Evans stepped out of his car and shot Mr. Goodman multiple times. Along with the murder charge, Evans was also charged with aggravated assault and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. He was booked into the Fulton County Jail, Atlanta, Georgia, and waived his first court appearance. Police confirmed Evans was an employee at the Bojangles where the shooting took place. So there's a statement from Bojangles, but I have to echo the sadness of this and the extreme pressure that teenagers are under in adult situations already. When a child, 17-year-old, is having to call a parent, usually there's some there. Because typically 17-year-olds don't want to call mama or daddy to get us involved. I know I have a 20-year-old. So for that call to be made, at least in the mind of the 17-year-old, that call needed to be made. Whatever conflict may happen beyond that, it should never end in somebody getting shot and killed, because we can all understand, at least reasonable, can all understand a father saying, what's going on between you and my child at this job? And I know some people will say she's 17, she should have worked that out on her own. She's an adult, basically, almost an adult, a young adult working. She needed to not call her father. No, call your parents. Call your parents. This is an extreme example of what could potentially happen, but this is the outlier and not the norm. So Bojangles released a statement. I'm going to read it. Let's put it up. Quote, we are aware of the tragic incident that occurred earlier today at a franchised restaurant location in Palmetto, Georgia. Our hearts go out to the victim and all those impacted by this act. The safety of our guests and team members is always our top priority. Franchisee is fully cooperating with local law enforcement as they conduct their investigation. We strongly condemn all acts of violence. Out of respect for everyone involved and the integrity of the ongoing investigation, we will defer any details to the police. A manager at a Honda South in Morrow, Georgia, which is in Clayton County, told Atlanta News First that Goodman worked at the dealership, was a top salesman for 3 years. Quote, I feel like she lost everything. You know, she would never get him back. That's sad. That man should have thought before he made that decision, lately said. According to the police, this was not a matter of self-defense, that the life of the Bojangles manager was never in danger, that it was escalated by said manager, and that manager was arrested for murder and is being prosecuted for murder, which would lend significant credibility to the 17-year-old's claim that this man is bullying me. Well, it fits. If the man is bullying you, he decided to shoot a person who confronted him about the bullying. Very sad. Hearts and prayers for the family. Dear brother, thoughts here?
I mean, yeah, it's just an absolutely tragic story. I think when you hear things like this, what comes to mind is just sort of the nation as a whole. I think that when these kinds of events pop up, you can view them as a microcosm of kind of where we're at right now. I don't think this should have ever happened. I think that it speaks to kind of a sickness going on. And I mean, I wish this family the best. This girl did not need to lose her father. And also reaching out for help in any capacity is something that should be lauded and not something that you should feel ashamed to do or something that you should get, feel bad about later when you're in some kind of court of law. Like, this is a situation where someone did exactly what they were supposed to do and someone did the most unimaginably bad thing they could possibly.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. We'll bring you updates as that story develops. We got more on the other side. Indisputable. Stick and stay.
I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care, but you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter in this verse. I don't care. I don't care. I don't believe in it. And I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
Here I am, Nancy Pelosi, saying this country needs a strong Republican Party, and we do.
No one is representing what I call the silent majority, which is about 2/3 of this country, indisputably progressive.
But now we say the time has come for regime change in American television.
The Young Turks Network.
You have the Young Turks saying this is the time to fight for our values.
Young Turks is the oldest left media institution I believe that there is. Real front runner in the online media space.
You guys might know us.
Biggest online left of center outlet that exists.
All of you know the Young Turks.
People from this district heard about Justice Democrats by watching your show.
Thanks to the Young Turks for covering Trayvon Martin's case early on when few people were covered.
They don't stop, I won't stop. Racism won't stop, so I won't stop.
Species are at risk of going extinct. Major media outlets did not dedicate much time at all to that.
We reached a whole heap of people with our progressive message. We're not the Young Turks, you're the Young Turks.
That 300 million is a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world.
We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day we would have looked at you like, are you nuts?
Young Turks has just passed another milestone. 25 billion lifetime views.
Damn.
Whoa, too strong, way too strong. That's 25 billion times someone watched the progressive message delivered to people all over the world. You know who helped to do that? You guys did. Our members and our audience are amazing, and they helped us to reach 2 generations, both millennials and Gen Z. They're both super progressive. And I gotta tell you, we're just getting started. Thank you.
Corruption, injustice, the system is rigged against you. Every day we're blasted by a flurry of terrible news from every angle, which can make it challenging to stay positive and know how to fight back. The Damage Report is your solution. I'm Johnny DeRola, and my daily morning show cuts through the noise and exposes the real damage being done to our country, the world, and how we can fight back against it. Corporate greed crushing workers? We'll name names. Politicians selling you out for their corporate overlords? We've got the receipts. Climate disaster, economic collapse, the rise of fascism. No spin, no establishment talking points, just the truth that you need to survive and resist. But it's not all doom and gloom. We'd love to have you join the Dragon Squad, our community of positive-minded activists who turn the day's news into positive action. With new episodes every weekday, listen to The Damage Report to get honest news, unflinching commentary, and daring coverage you won't find anywhere else. Listen to The Damage Report on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, because understanding the damage is the first step.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. A lot of comments. We'll read as many as I can. Very thankful for everyone. Yep. E.B. Smith, 29. Despite the two senators, new Public Service Commission members, newly elected local Democratic politicians, the Georgia General Assembly is still full of fashion. That's right. You are absolutely correct. And DB Hawk 3, thank you for that. Damn, the company's bending the knee. Yeah. And Cray Cray Souffle. Wow, the God plot thickens. It does, very much so. And I agree. V Brown 7436. The daughter will be traumatized for the rest of her life. Traumatized isn't even the strength. The strongest word is a word that eludes us. But traumatized is the best word we can come up with. I have no idea what this young lady is thinking in her mind to have something like that happen at her place of employment. But once again, hearts and prayers, positive vibrations, positive thoughts with the family. And RJO Network, tighter gun regulations, question mark. Parish thought says the GOP. Yep. All right. Okay, on a lighter note, got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
You're still free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life. You don't have to be aggressive, sir. Sir, it's a question.
See you. You need to speak English. I don't appreciate you with Spanish.
She's speaking English.
No, she's not.
I'm speaking English to you. I can speak any other language that I want.
Care, but as far as I'm concerned, you're disrespectful to me when you're talking on that phone. I have no idea what you're talking about. You could be calling the Spanish.
I'm calling to his parents. Is that okay? If his parents English isn't preferable?
You didn't even tell me that.
Do I have to?
Sir, put my full mask. You must be living in a perpetual hell if it angers you to hear somebody on their private, personal cell phone, in a private, personal conversation, speak in a language that you don't understand. Some people would argue you don't speak English based on some of your commentary, sir. At least not King's English. You see the guy in the background. Let's put the picture back up again. The young guy, sir, I applaud your efforts. I applaud your efforts, sir. But I think it was a point where you realized the Karenicity runs deep. When that happened, when you realized there was no saving the individual, there was no help, there was no life jacket, you got to let it Karen. Okay. Elliot, thoughts?
I think that's absolutely correct. It's when you're in that situation and all of a sudden you go, oh, racism is about to happen. Sometimes you just got to kind of watch it unfold. Also, I mean, that guy, God bless him. He's got maybe one of those kind of hard faces to take seriously. He kind of reminds me of one of those sitcom characters from like laugh track, like Modern Family or something.
Yes.
And it also reminds me of the Onion article that came out. I don't know. It lives in my head rent free, but the headline says "Conservative man proudly frightened of everything," and I think that's exactly what was going on here. There are people walking around in this nation who are just petrified about everything going on around them and assuming the worst in every person. And yeah, this guy is living in a hell of his own creating. So good luck to him.
Yeah, unimaginable. All right. Well, what if I told you that white men decided to chase down and corner a black worker in their neighborhood? It is.
Dude, there's been burglaries in here, and you're making people paranoid. Get out of here.
Wow.
Okay?
That's nice to know.
Go.
So what?
Don't come close to me. Where's your partners?
Are you trying to hit me? You trying to assault me, sir? Oh, he finna run me over. That boy not playing though. Chill, bro. I'm trying to leave. Could I go, bro? You gonna run me over, gang?
Leave the property.
Walking while black. No criminal offense, no statutory violation. These individuals are not law enforcement. Even if they were, still no right to harass the man. He has rights. He does not have to produce freedom papers. He's free now, sir. Put him up. This is a continuing saga that deserves significant highlight, especially of those who are the perpetrators of such insane behavior. So 2 white men decided to chase down and corner a black worker with pickup trucks in a California neighborhood. So 2 California men were caught on film threatening a black utilities worker, nearly running him over with their trucks as they chased him out of their, trailer park. A chilling video showed. The young man's identity has not been confirmed, but he was dressed in a work uniform, complete with a photo ID badge for SFE California. That's an energy supplier known for its door-to-door methodology of sales. At this point, the young worker has not been identified and it's unclear which community he was in. That said, civil rights attorney Lee Merritt, who posted the video on December 10th, assured viewers that SFPD, that's the San Fran Police Department, is now involved and police are investigating this as a racially motivated incident. Wow. Walking while black, it's nothing else here other than him walking and being dutiful for his job. Elliot, thoughts?
You know, there's this Onion article that came out about maybe a year ago. I know maybe I'll mention it another time in this hour, but it says, conservative man proudly frightened of everything. The irony of approaching someone and saying, you need to get out of here. You're making people paranoid while creeping up on someone while driving a vehicle is, the irony is palpable. And you're seeing these guys that they're terrified. They see someone who looks different than them. And also, I would love to know the exchange that happened that caused them to arrive around this person together. Was there a text thread that went on? And what I would love to see what's going on in that text thread. This is just a disgusting display of racism at the end of the day. And whatever community this is, I hope that they maybe do a little soul searching at some point.
Yeah, and if somebody recognizes the individual or individuals who were the perpetrators, it's time for an intervention if somebody loves them. All right, we got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Rich and powerful men abusing, assaulting, and abandoning young women. These rich and powerful men donate to the politicians in Washington, D.C., play golf with the elites in Washington, D.C. They are foreign leaders who we don't want to offend. They interact with our intelligence agencies that we don't want to disobey. There is something rotten in Washington.
And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
All those congressmen you just saw there are on the record as protecting the child rapists who were clients of Epstein. They have not prosecuted a single person outside of Epstein and Maxwell.
Yep.
Not one.
Is Trump engaging in this cover up because he's in the Epstein files?
I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff.
So as the government keeps telling us, yeah, there's other people. Yeah, they raped those girls. So what? We're gonna cover up for them. But why are you guys so mad?
A nation that chooses impunity for the rich and the powerful at the expense of our children is a nation that has lost its moral purpose. Are you on the side of the people? Are you on the side of America's children? Or are you on the side of the rich and powerful who've had their thumb on the scales and shafted Americans for decades?
The rest of the news media says you should not fight for positive change. If you do, you're not really a reporter or a journalist, because reporters and journalists don't care what happens. I don't agree. That's not written anywhere. That's not a law. It's just a rule that they invented so that reporters didn't actually challenge the people that are in power. Well, we don't agree with that. We think we should challenge the people in power, that actually makes you a better journalist, not a worse one.
In a media landscape poisoned by corporate influence, only one show stands apart from the rest, The Young Turks. As the longest running daily news show on the internet, The Young Turks is an impactful voice of unfiltered truth, one you can trust to deliver the daily news with authenticity and honesty. For nearly 2 decades, TYT has been breaking the mold of media. We're not here to echo the powerful or the elite, we're here to challenge them. Our mission is to give you accurate news, fight the establishment, and cover stories that mainstream media keeps you in the dark about, which matter to your everyday life. We've remained a leader in online news because of our established credibility with an engaged audience looking for alternative media that represents the real concerns of everyday Americans. Listen to The Young Turks, a news show that only answers to you on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
How do you know if you're a populist? Easy. Do you work for the donor class? You don't? Great, you're a populist. Okay, so the establishment takes money from the donors and serves the donors. A mainstream media takes money from advertisers, and they are giant corporations themselves, and they work for themselves, and they work for the powerful. If you care about the average person, and you want the average person to have better health care, better wages, a better life, and you hate corruption, congrats, you're a populist.
All right, welcome back. Don't forget about our brand partner, Noble Mobile. It's the holidays, maybe time for a change, or perhaps look into it. The only wireless plan that gives you money, real cash, to use data less. Real simple, $50 a month, you got unlimited data. If you don't use data like that, you get cash back. Real money, not Noble Mobile bucks. Real money. It's your money, use it as you choose. You can switch to the No Bull plan. Go to that QR code for more information, or go to tyt.com/switch, tyt.com/switch. Okay. We got a lot of comments. I'll read as many as I can. Who stole the U91101? Dude wasn't listening in English. Right. Neon Death 07 says, learn Spanish then. And Shade_Dragon about the black utilities worker. Quote, get a job. No, not a job where I can see you. And I agree. Fascist Killer says, this reminds me of a Ahmaud Arbery. I remember. And it does. Yeah, very similar. Pickup trucks. Everybody seemed to be on the same page. Black male walking through a community. Cornered. Right. Okay. So even though people are making less, paying more, household median income is tanking by the day, the Trump administration is going to burden you even more. How? By eliminating a student loan forgiveness program, all because it's a Biden-era program. That's it. Nothing else. Put it up for a mass. Millions of struggling Americans are burdened by crippling student loan debt. Now, the Trump administration is set to end a major student loan forgiveness program. The number one deterrent to home ownership is actually student loan debt, which would be the greatest investment for the vast majority of people in the United States, their home investment. The Department of Education has moved to terminate one of former President Joe Biden's most popular student loan forgiveness plans, impacting millions of Americans through a proposed joint settlement with the state of Missouri on Tuesday. The pending agreement ends the saving on a valuable education or SAVE plan, which is home to over 7 million student loan borrowers, 7 million plus. It marks a major victory, if you call it that, for the Trump administration's effort to claw back Biden-era policies, including Biden's numerous efforts to implement student loan debt cancellation. Now, before I get into the other details, I want you to look at the hypocrisy of their argument. Obviously, no president should starve the citizen. He did that. Obviously, no president should utilize the military to wage war on the citizens. He has done that. Now you have this philosophical and political debate about student loan forgiveness. While the left will argue, rightfully so, that it's not only the right thing to do ethically, it's also the right thing to do economically, because it's a bailout of sorts, frees up economic enterprise, providing consumer confidence and some disposable income, invigorating the local economy and beyond. Very simple math. Republicans will say, well, it's their fault. They need to pull themselves by the bootstraps, pay the bill. And I remember getting into a debate, and it wasn't a long debate, with a former law professor of mine who believed the same thing, that people needed to pay their bill. This generation needs to learn how to pay their bills. They signed the contract. But I reminded that professor, as I will remind Republicans, you all are the same individuals who argue that the reason why student loan debt became a crisis is because the government came in and became surety for the debt. And because of that, at 18, you can get up to $190,000 to go to college, but you could not get $19,000 to open up a business. You argued the government is the reason why it got out of control, which I agree with you, which would mean that if the government is the catalyst for the reason the debt is out of control for the average American, that the government would at least, due to their contributory negligence, have some level of responsibility to lighten the load. Real simple here. Should not be a Democrat versus Republican argument. Now, The pending agreement ends. Officials in the Trump administration, education department, which is the anti-education department at this point, who've decried these policies for months, suggested that the administration is righting a wrong by ending the, quote, deceptive scheme of student loan forgiveness. The Biden administration touted the plan for including zero payments for anyone making $16 an hour or less, lowered monthly payments for millions of individuals who had these loans, and protecting those individuals from runaway interest rates if they are making their monthly payments. That doesn't sound deceptive to me. If that's deceptive, give me that. I will accept that. If that's what you're calling deceptive. That's straightforward, simple, makes sense. Common place ethic. You make $16 or less, you're barely able to pay your bills, let alone pay a multi-billion-dollar loan agency. Quote, the law is clear. If you take out a loan, you must pay it back. What? If you take out a loan, you must pay it back. The law is clear. Interesting how they will bend and manipulate the law to benefit them. And they won't even properly quote the law to benefit you. Loan forgiveness is statutory as well, especially when it was done under predatory guise. Under Secretary of Education, these people are something else. Nicholas Kent said in a release from Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon's department on Tuesday, quote, thanks to the state of Missouri and other states fighting against this egregious federal overreach, American taxpayers can now rest assured they will no longer be forced to serve as collateral for illegal and irresponsible student loan policies. Well, once again, we're back to a policy dynamic, which would mean the government is involved and the people are suffering. You govern for the people. Policies are for the people. There's more. This program, SAVE, was one of several income-driven repayment plans, which calculate payment size based on income and family size. Very fair. Aimed at easing the repayment process as a pandemic-era pause ended. Several Republican-led states, including Missouri, sued the Biden administration over the plan, and a federal appeals court blocked the program in 2024. The announcement on Tuesday will mark an end to those lawsuits. Quote, the Biden administration's illegal SAVE plan would have cost taxpayers, many of whom did not attend college or already repaid their student loans, more than $342 billion over 10 years, McMahon wrote in the post on X. We won't tolerate it. The insanity. Because many of the taxpayers never went to college and they shouldn't be paying into these systems. Well, you know what? A whole lot of us don't want you killing people and blowing things up, but you would take our money in order to wage war. A whole lot of us won't serve in the military, but that money will go and pay every Department of Defense contract and personnel that you have. And also, return on investment, ROI. The more education, technical training, et cetera, that a person has, the more revenue they pay into the system, more taxation the government is able to receive, and the higher quality of life based on the statistics they are able to have. Meaning, if you have an educated population, you have a better outcome financially, professionally, and personally. Her agencies already saddled the Federal Student Aid Office will provide support to those currently enrolled in selecting a new legal repayment plan, the department said. The department said these individuals will have a limited time to find a new payment plan. However, FSA's loan simulator tool will estimate monthly payments, determine repayment eligibility, and select a new plan that best fits those needs and goals, the department said. the impact this will have on the borrower. So, quote, 7+ million borrowers rolled and saved, face higher monthly loan repayments, may lose out on months of progress toward loan forgiveness. That's according to the Associate Vice President of Federal Policy and Advocacy at the Institute for College Access and Success, wrote in a statement. If the Trump administration cares so much about agreements, remember that they entered into this loan repayment program by way of a contractual agreement. The government is breaking that contractual agreement. ACLU, where are you? Where are you? This is a class action lawsuit if I've ever seen one. Where are you? There's a contract in place. There was an offer, consideration, and acceptance. Where are you? All right, Elliot, thoughts here.
I mean, I have many thoughts about this. It strikes very close to home. I definitely have student debt. Whenever I see these headlines, there's like a pit in my stomach that just kind of falls out. And I want to highlight too this idea of the deceptive scheme of student loan forgiveness. I think if folks want to learn about the deceptive schemes going on, there is an article that was in The Intercept that was written by John Schwartz, and it goes into the origins of the student debt crisis that we currently have in this nation. And in it, it talks about an advisor in California in the 60s who advised Reagan when he was running for the government that they needed to be very selective about who they allowed into college because they didn't want a, quote, educated proletariat. There was a lot of protests happening about the Vietnam War. They didn't like that, and they instituted the loan program to make it so that people would have to pay this money back later. That later spread all throughout the nation, and now we have over, I think, $1.something trillion in student loan debt. However, there's also trillions of dollars stored in offshore bank accounts by corporations and the ultra wealthy. And so the idea that you're going to go after people who are trying to seek an education rather than the people who are actually holding all of the money away from the government, I think maybe is a little bit hypocritical. And there is just such a sadness and a metaphorical kind of like tragedy to going after education itself. I think people should be allowed to learn things, and it cuts to the core of what kind of a country we actually want. We want a country that is a center for like the sciences and the arts and culture. Do we want people to be educated? Do we want people to be able to live to their fullest potential? That is what education can provide for a lot of people. And that is an investment worthy of being made, I think, regardless of what the monetary reward is. In addition to the monetary reward, there is also just like, what do you want out of your country? So the whole situation, I think, is disgusting. And it also, just on a personal level, I can get a little fired up about it. But people should check out that Intercept article. It's incredibly interesting.
Well said. Well said. All right. We'll bring you up this half state. We got more on the other side. Indisputable stick and stay.
There's one reason why healthcare is so messed up in this country, and that's because of our money in politics situation. Because those industries that are deeply corrupt can just simply purchase all of Congress. And then the problem never gets fixed because of that bribery. Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it's greed, and it's the greed of politicians, right? I mean, so everything they do is dictated by the donors and the money. I mean, I shouldn't say that, not everything. A lot of what they do is, and I do think that there are people who do things in spite of the fact that they have to raise money and often don't get that money and often don't win because they don't, but are in there fighting for ideals that they believe in. Bernie Sanders is certainly an example of someone like that.
I'm back to gaslighting. Did you and I talk about gaslighting on Old School?
Probably.
That boss gaslit all his female employees. People who manipulate others like that make you feel like you're the weirdo. Why won't you punch yourself in the face? What is wrong with you? And you're like, oh my God, I feel so bad. Why didn't I just punch myself in the face and poke my eye out? I'm 47 and I just figured it out like earlier this year.
You figured out somebody was doing it to you, or that you were
that it was that it would have been happening my whole life and I didn't realize it.
Right.
You want to know the 3 shows that I'm watching lately? Shogun, Anjin-san. Those guys are badasses. Then you go to the Duttons, Yellowstone. Now, they don't always do it right, but they are badasses. But the 3rd show has the biggest badasses of all, the Young Turks. Live every weekend. Sick that I was so good. God damn it. Okay, live. Weekdays at 6 o'clock Eastern. That's what I meant. Anjin-san.
How do you know if you're a populist? Easy. Do you work for the donor class? You don't? Great, you're a populist. Okay, so the establishment takes money from the donors and serves the donors. Mainstream media takes money from advertisers, and they are giant corporations themselves, and they work for themselves, and they work for the powerful. If you care about the average person, and you want the average person to have better health care, better wages, a better life, and you hate corruption, congrats, you're a populist.
All right, Amazon Prime members, here's how you can subscribe for free on Twitch. Start by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then click that little subscribe or resubscribe button below the stream on Twitch. Scroll down and select the subscribe free with Prime button, and then you're finished. Close out immediately and share your little subscription alert with the chat. Send a cute message along with it, and bathe in the sweet, twitchy, Bezos-funded love. Hashtag Bezos Bucks.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. Hell of a story. A cop resigned after being sued for excessive force in a violent arrest. We're talking about $5 million in question. Put it up, full mass. So Officer Matthew Talavera resigned from the Edison Police Department last week. He was the officer named in the $5 million excessive force lawsuit. As I said before, cops defunding the police. Township police officer accused of excessive force in a 2023 arrest was also cited in the state's 2024 police discipline report for using force during a vehicle stop, has now resigned from the department. The chief of Edison Police Department, Thomas Bryan, issued a statement that Officer Matthew Talavera resigned on December 3rd from the Edison Police Department. His resignation was effective immediately. He was hired September 2022. No other information was available about the resignation. Keep up, the chief. We were unable to independently confirm a picture for the local cop. And so when that happened, when they play that game, we play a game called Put Up the Leader. That is the leader of the police department. And so until or unless we know who this public servant was who violated the trust of the citizen, you will be the face of this story until then. Chief, I'm reading between the lines on this one. He was hired in September 2022. There are 2 major violations that we know of. But even those major violations would typically render a person on desk duty, paid vacation, pending the outcome of the investigation. However, you made this man resign immediately, effective immediately, with no additional information, which leads me to believe there's a lot more that this man did between 2022 and 2024 for sure. That's not on the record, but you are aware of. My speculation only. Officer Talavera was named in a new Brunswick man's federal lawsuit alleging his federal rights were violated when he was falsely arrested and assaulted by the Edison Police Department in 2023. Carlton R. Brathwaite is seeking $5 million in the federal civil rights lawsuit filed last year against Talavera, Edison Township, and the Edison Police Department. The lawsuit alleges that his federal rights of search and seizure and personal incrimination were violated while he was sitting in a legally parked car. He also contends he was racially profiled and harassed because he is in fact black. According to the lawsuit, on October 6, 2023, Mr. Brathwaite was sitting in a parked car with his brother Derek, with the vehicle's engine turned off as they listened to music and talk. The brothers had recently lost their mother and were discussing care for their elderly stepfather. Around 1 a.m. in the area of Redwood Avenue, Carlton was allegedly falsely arrested, beaten, hit with a weapon, pushed to the ground, and held in jail by Officer Talavera and other unknown Edison police officers, the lawsuit states. According to the lawsuit, the officers' actions constituted excessive force and violated Mr. Brathwaite's state, federal, civil, and constitutional rights. The officers acted without provocation and without probable cause, and the victim was denied medical attention after the attack. The case is ongoing according to court records. Officer Talavera is also mentioned in the state's 2024 annual police discipline report. According to that report, the same cop conducted an investigative stop of a suspect vehicle, and during the course of interaction with the suspect, the same cop utilized force to take the suspect to the ground and struck the suspect. Investigative stop led to this. Quote, Officer Talavera did not use de-escalation techniques and did not use force as a last resort. His report was substandard and was not adequate in reflecting what occurred on the scene, meaning he lied. The officer was sustained for conduct unbecoming, willful violation of rules and regulations, and misconduct pursuant to NJSA 40A 14-147. The report states he was suspended for 10 days in connection with the incident. The report states that was against the law. He violated statutory subsection. Should have been arrested, prosecuted, never to be in a position of public trust like that again. Negligent retention is typically affixed to these types of cases. Very unfortunate, obviously an insane outcome to something that seems so simple, a traffic stop, investigative traffic stop. Now, that city is likely going to be defunded by at least $5 million, if not more, because corrupt cops defund the police. That's why. All right. We got more on the other side. Indisputable. Stick and stick. Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refused to go, when there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier, and to remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked.
My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reform, so I won't stop. You won't stop either. All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. Let me read a couple of comments. Love 18 White Girl says the cop should have to pay the $5 million himself. And Robert Tables, these judgments need to start coming out of the police retirement fund. And here's how to correct it to where people who deserve the money can still get it, because the cop ain't got $5 million. So he's not going to be able to make good on that. But if you require police officers to get malpractice insurance, especially if they happen to be either A, part of a problematic police force and is mandated, or have challenges in their history, it lowers the liability, tax liability of the local community. Doctors have to do it. Okay. A man gets arrested for repainting city neglected crosswalk. Hear this.
Well, it happens. You're vandalizing city property without a permit. So I'm gonna ask y'all nice. Y'all can record all y'all want, but back up, or I will take everybody to jail.
Today, I got arrested and cited by LAPD for painting a crosswalk, as if we needed more proof that our city's leadership doesn't care about the needs of its people. We've been painting crosswalks around LA to protest for safer streets and a more effective government. We paint crosswalks where they legally already exist, in compliance with California code and the city's ADA guidelines. We've been choosing places where pedestrians have been hit and injured or killed. I've been letting the mayor's office know directly in advance, and we've been requesting the corners through 311. Before we go out and paint, I paste flyers around the neighborhood and I talk to neighbors. Back in August, we painted crosswalks at a corner in Koreatown where the city's apathy caused a child's death. After that, I had the opportunity to meet with the mayor's office, where I hoped that we'd be able to work together to advocate for our shared goal of safer streets. But they basically told me to kick rocks. So I said that we'd stop if the mayor's office either publicly condemned our actions or took tangible steps to make the streets safer. They've done neither of those things.
Failed, feckless leadership. An individual, part of an organized group, provides leadership, and the feckless leadership utilizes their authority to put the person in jail. You know, you typically don't even get arrested for graffiti. You get a summons, you get a citation. It's an ordinance violation. They arrested this man, Put it up full mast. It doesn't take a lot of outside of the box thinking to simply deputize these individuals as volunteers for the mayor's office, since they're doing the work, give them covering so they're covered by the city's insurance policy in case, God forbid, something happens, so you don't get sued and bankrupt. And all of a sudden, everybody's at least on the same page. But to arrest these individuals for doing such a needed service, something that the average person doesn't think about, is insane to me. Countless residents of Los Angeles are disappointed in the condition of the roads, sidewalks, crosswalks that local government is supposed to maintain. One man decided to make a difference. So he went around repainting the already partially painted but deteriorating crosswalk. One study found that LA roads are second worst in the entire country. So if you're thinking about your community and how your crosswalks may look and the paint, nope, this is about as bad as it gets in the entire nation. So this is an extreme expression of the problem. So 60% of Los Angeles roads are in, quote, poor condition, costing drivers $892 a year in maintenance costs. That's according to a report from TRIP, a Washington, D.C. nonprofit that researches and analyzes data on transportation issues. Only the San Francisco area had a higher percentage of roads in poor condition. It was at 71%. The report says that while many cold areas can blame poor weather and freeze-thaw cycles for having roads in various states of disrepair, Los Angeles has no such excuse. And then they have a hero squad that they put in jail. All right. Elliot, thoughts here?
I mean, I'm just glad that we're finally cleaning up the streets by arresting folks who are, let me see here, they're literally cleaning up the streets. I think there's kind of a beautiful sort of subversive protest here going on. The fact that these are Los Angeles citizens, where I also live, taking matters into their own hands and just improving their community. That is something I think that should actually be celebrated. I also think that when there is headlines in the news about how dangerous these blue cities are, folks should also consider that the danger very often is people trying to, repaint crosswalks. So this is, there's a lot of metaphors going on here to unpack, but the biggest one, I think, is that this is a city where people are trying to actually improve the community, and they are up against a government that is ostensibly supposed to be doing the same thing.
Yeah, this wouldn't even qualify as a protest. There's no nuisance. There's no. We're trying to make people uncomfortable. This isn't a protest at all. These individuals are good people doing it in good faith. That's right, doing it in good faith. All right, we'll bring you updates as updates come. If there's anything that we can do it indisputable for you guys in Los Angeles, let us know. All right, a man hides in a Waymo before a woman gets into the car. A week ago, we reported on rising issues with self-driving Waymo cars. We discussed the 24/7 hotline the LAPD has for coordinating issues with Waymo. Waymo has become the problem, according to the authority. But then there's this interesting story. So, mother wanted her child to be safe and did not trust a rideshare other than Waymo. Here it is.
Why are you in the trunk?
That's why, ma'am, I'm trying to figure this out. Like, I'm over here. Yeah, let me out.
Why are you in it?
Huh? They just put me in here.
Who put you in?
The
what?
The people. I'm late. That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm saying. Just look.
Everything recorded as well. So I appreciate it. We're gonna order a new Waymo. Hopefully this one doesn't pop up. Okay.
Okay, we don't want you to experience this again. Let me provide you the credit and should be able to use it right away.
Did Waymo do this, sir? Are you protecting Waymo? Put a full mask. I think everybody's leaving out the elephant in the room here. So, according to witnesses across the country, more and more Waymos are making illegal U-turns, zigzagging through tunnels, and rolling past stops. Well, we got another one on the list. A mother in Los Angeles knew her daughter needed a ride, but wanted her to be safe, so she ordered a Waymo, a driverless car. What you just saw was a grown adult male tucked into the trunk of a Waymo. The situation did end with LAPD's involvement. The rogue passenger was removed from the vehicle by the police. The woman remained on the phone with a Waymo representative who promised to, quote, provide a credit, end quote, for a new ride. According to a second clip, many viewers were shocked that the robo-taxi wasn't already equipped with a system that could detect a stowaway. Unless Waymo did it, damn it. I don't know. Elliot,
I mean,
what's going on, man?
Yeah, what are you going to do? There's a litany of things that I don't like about Waymo. They tend to take jobs from people at a time when people are struggling, which is bad. But when all of these conversations around artificial intelligence and all of these new changes that are happening all around us constantly, this is not an issue I would have expected, but it does make total sense. I'm glad that nothing bad happened. There is kind of a hilarity to it, but like, what do they do about this? I mean, the whole idea of an automated car is that you have total privacy. Are we going to have to, if you get in there, you're going to have to start looking in the trunk to see if there's a human being that is hiding? I mean, it is just an insane situation. So it is funny, but it is insane.
Yeah, and if we're supposed to trust you to navigate the highways and byways, but you can't navigate what's inside of your trunk, that's a question. All right, I'm going to read, Waymo issued a statement. I'm going to read the statement. Waymo, which is owned by Google's parent company, Alphabet, said its support team assisted the customer and ensured she was okay. Quote, we're committed to keeping our riders safe and earning the trust of the communities where we operate. This experience was unacceptable, and we are actively implementing changes to address this, a Waymo spokesperson said in a statement to the Post. Waymo don't know what it's talking about. All right, brother. Always fascinating to have you on. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
Oh, you can check me out at substack.com/Elliot Morgan or Instagram.com/Elliot Morgan or my weekly videos over at Rebel HQ. But thank you for having me, Dr. Ricky.
Thank you, my friend, for all you do. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.